In our state, there are 3 levels of methods for estimating a property's worth, and while they may use similar processes, they are each distinctly different. They are valuation, evaluation, and appraisal. The legal definition of valuation is the least complex. Minnesota statute defines valuation as an estimate of value of real estate or real property. Valuation doesn't provide much in the way of assurance as to the accuracy of a property's value. It's a fairly informal process, but still requires a lot of the same steps used to produce a formal evaluation or appraisal. Of the 3, evaluation and appraisal are more similar to each other. Minnesota law states that an evaluation is an estimation of a property's value, using the interagency appraisal and evaluation guidelines given to entities regulated by a federal financial institution for use in a real estate transaction where an appraisal is not required by federal law. Finally, there is the appraisal. As you've probably guessed, the appraisal is considered to be the most accurate representation of a property's value under Minnesota statute. This means, quote, an analysis, opinion, or conclusion relating to the nature, quality, value, or utility of named interests in or aspects of identified real estate, end quote. When a property is being valued, there are 4 main elements to be considered. The first is demand. Consumers and their willingness to purchase a property determine how in demand it is. If a property is more in demand, it'll be priced higher. The second element is utility. This takes into consideration how useful a property is. But the utility of a property changes depending on the category of real estate. For instance, a residential property needs elements to be useful that a commercial property may not, like natural light and a backyard. The utility of a property also depends on the needs of individual consumers. The third element is scarcity. This refers to the fact that there's only so much land in the world. In some areas, residential housing may be scarce, which means any houses for sale would have a higher value. And finally, valuation depends on transferability. In order for property to have value, it must be able to be transferred to someone else for something of value, usually money. Consumers will see a property as less valuable if it has encumbrances or zoning restrictions. Remember that the biggest difference between a valuation and an appraisal is that a property valuation can be conducted by a real estate professional, whereas appraisals can only be performed by a licensed appraiser. There are also 10 uniform appraisal practices licensed appraisers must abide by. These standards establish requirements for developing and reporting property appraisals and reviews, developing mass appraisals, personal property appraisals, and appraisals for businesses or intangible assets. Appraisal reports are also required to be in one of 3 specific formats. They are summary reports, self-contained reports, and restricted reports. The most detailed report would be the self-contained report, which includes all of the information the appraiser used to reach their conclusion. These are the most common forms of report used as well. While conducting appraisals isn't a task that licensees are legally permitted to do, they will work with appraisers during real estate transactions, so it's important for you to understand the appraisal process.